Deep in India's Thar Desert sits Kuldhara, an immense, sprawling grid of sandstone ruins completely devoid of human life. Even though it is an open archaeological site by day, local guides make a point to pack up and leave before sunset. The surrounding community has a strict belief that the grounds are actively cursed, and no one dares stay here alone in the dark. According to the region's most popular legends, this was once a thriving, exceptionally wealthy settlement founded in the 13th century. Then suddenly, every single resident packed up and left in a single night. When thousands of people abandon a city, they leave behind mass graves, scorch marks, or detailed administrative records. Kuldhara lacks all of these, leaving a massive historical void right where a major civilization used to be. The folklore points the blame at a local state minister named Salim Singh. The story claims he developed a dangerous, unyielding obsession with the daughter of a village elder. He gave the community a brutal ultimatum: hand her over, or he would crush the village with impossible taxes and extreme military violence. Faced with an impossible choice, the village elders made a staggering decision. They chose to abandon everything they had built over centuries rather than surrender one of their own. Under the cover of darkness, Kuldhara and dozens of connected satellite villages silently emptied out into the desert. Before leaving, they supposedly placed a hex on the land, ensuring no subsequent civilization could ever take their place. Physical evidence on the ground suggests the abandonment was a slow, human tragedy, far removed from the supernatural tales told to tourists. To understand what really happened, we have to look at the people who built the city, the Paliwal Brahmins. This topographical map shows how they survived one of Earth's harshest environments. They engineered structural slopes and reservoirs to capture rare rainfall. Directing runoff into specific depression zones, they cultivated crops in a climate too arid to support human life. This massive agricultural surplus gave them incredible leverage. Kuldhara became a highly profitable, self-sustaining hub for merchants and caravans crossing the desert. Then, the regional climate began to shift. The seasonal rains became entirely unpredictable, triggering a series of devastating, prolonged droughts. Even their brilliant engineering could not capture water that never fell. Kuldhara's immense wealth was precariously balanced on razor-thin environmental conditions. Once the water dried up, their crops failed, and the community began to slowly starve. At the exact same time, global and regional trade routes were changing. The merchant caravans that once relied on Kuldhara's surplus grain now bypassed the region completely. The village lost its food supply and its primary source of income simultaneously. Records identify Salim Singh as the state minister managing the region's treasury, tasked with extracting wealth from a population that no longer had any. Look closely at the faces and skeletal frames in this historical photograph. This shows the severe, undeniable physical toll regional famines took during this era. The state's refusal to lower taxes during extreme droughts turned an economic crisis into a horrific humanitarian disaster. The overnight disappearance was actually a desperate, drawn-out migration. Over months and years, an exhausted, starving community packed whatever they could carry and walked away from their ancestral home just to survive. Kuldhara collapsed under the weight of three converging forces: severe climate change, shifting trade routes, and a government that refused to adapt its taxes to a dying landscape. This vast, chaotic spread of crumbling walls stands as the physical record of a mass forced eviction, the remains of a population pushed beyond its breaking point. These folklore elements often act as a narrative proxy for historical pressures. Within this context, a minister demanding a village daughter mirrors a state demanding resources the community could no longer provide. The story of an overnight vanishing and a lingering curse was how the survivors processed the immense grief of losing centuries of their heritage. When displaced communities lack formal historical records to document inflation and climate shifts, they distill complex systemic failures into simple, memorable stories of villains and magic. It guarantees the trauma is passed down and never forgotten. Kuldhara's story survived the centuries precisely because it was disguised as a supernatural thriller. Hundreds of ancient settlements across the globe have been abandoned due to drought, and the vast majority of them sit completely forgotten. Kuldhara, by contrast, draws eager visitors from around the world. The mythical curse functioned as a highly effective protective ward. It terrified neighboring populations, just enough to prevent them from dismantling the sandstone ruins for building materials, perfectly preserving the site. The storytelling of Kuldhara achieved a rare form of immortality. A vanished civilization used a myth to preserve its own ruins, speaking to us 2 centuries after the last resident walked away.